One Battle After Another is a 2025 American black comedy action thriller film that marks a major collaboration between acclaimed filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson and one of Hollywood's most prominent actors, Leonardo DiCaprio. Written, directed, and co-produced by Anderson, the movie was developed over many years and draws inspiration from Thomas Pynchon's 1990 novel Vineland, although Anderson incorporated substantial original elements to reshape the narrative for the screen. It was produced through WarnerBros Pictures and Ghilardi Film Company, featuring cinematography by Michael Bauman alongside Anderson, editing by Andy Jurgensen, and a musical score crafted by Johnny Greenwood. The film's production is notable not just for its creative pedigree but also its ambitious technical execution, which includes shooting in formats such as VistaVision, 70mm, and IMAX to create a distinctive widescreen cinematic experience. The runtime is approximately 162 minutes, making it an expansive storytelling project and one of the most technically ambitious films of Anderson's career. The story of One Battle After Another centers on Bob Ferguson, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, a once radical revolutionary who has since chosen an isolated, off-grid life with his teenage daughter, Willa, played by newcomer Chase Infinity. Bob's life of seclusion and semi-paranoid idleness is disrupted when his longtime nemesis, Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, played by Sean Penn, resurfaces after 16 years, triggering a crisis that leads to Willa's unexplained disappearance. This event forces Bob to leave his deliberately secluded life and re-engage with the world he tried to leave behind. The narrative follows him as he confronts old allies and adversaries, navigates chaotic confrontations with corrupt authority figures, and struggles against his own emotional baggage to rescue his daughter. The dynamic between Bob and Willa drives the emotional core of the film, blending high-stakes action with moments of intimacy and dark humor. The film's plot unfolds with a mix of frenetic action and character-driven drama. Bob, once a fervent believer in radical causes, now exists in a state of stoned paranoia, retreating from the world and surviving off his past reputation. Willa, however, is more capable than her father, demonstrating resilience and skills learned from unconventional mentors such as Sergio, played by Benicio del Toro, who brings a blend of mysticism and martial prowess. As the past collides with the present, Bob reunites with former comrades including figures like Perfidia, portrayed by Teyana Taylor, whose own history with Bob is complex and emotionally charged. Together, this disparate group navigates a sequence of escalating challenges, forcing Bob to reckon with his own failures, the consequences of his past militant life, and the urgent necessity of saving his daughter from a powerful adversary whose motives intertwine personal vendettas with institutional corruption. The ensemble cast contributes to the film's layered character landscape. Alongside DiCaprio and Chase Infinity, the cast includes Sean Penn as the grotesque antagonist Colonel Lockjaw, Regina Hall in a key supporting role, Teyana Taylor as Perfidia, Benicio del Toro as Sergio, and additional appearances by Alana Hayam and Wood Harris. Each actor brings distinct energy to the film, balancing dramatic intensity with moments of sharp, often absurd, comedy. The casting of Infinity, in particular, received attention for both her character's resilience and the on-set rapport she developed with DiCaprio, including an anecdote in which she nervously shaved DiCaprio's facial hair during a camera test, reflecting the spontaneous and collaborative atmosphere of the production. Production of One Battle After Another reflects Anderson's long-held desire to adapt Vineland, though he ultimately shaped the screenplay into something uniquely his own, combining Pynchon's themes with his vision for a kinetic, genre-blending film. The shooting in VistaVision, a classic widescreen format rarely used for principal photography in modern film, underscores Anderson's commitment to a distinctive visual aesthetic. Filming locations in California provided the backdrop for many of the movie's sequences, including dramatic natural settings such as the rocky road near the California-Arizona border used for one of the climactic chase scenes, which presented physical challenges like extreme heat and dust but contributed to the authenticity of the film's intense action. The promotional campaign for One Battle After Another began with the release of teaser footage and full trailers ahead of its theatrical release. The early teaser showcased rapid gunfire scenes and enigmatic glimpses of DiCaprio and co-star Teyana Taylor, building excitement for the action-packed tone of the film. Two official trailers followed, highlighting both the kinetic energy of the set pieces and the emotional stakes for Bob and his daughter against a backdrop of satire, political undertones, and relentless conflict. The film's trailers helped position it as both a genre thriller and a character-driven story that defies typical action movie conventions. One Battle After Another had its world premiere in Los Angeles on September 8, 2025, and was theatrically released in the United States on September 26, 2025, with international releases beginning on September 24 in select markets. Initially scheduled for an early August release, the date was postponed to ensure wider availability of theaters equipped for VistaVision projections and to align the film with the fall awards season. The decision to shift the release was driven by a desire to present the film in its preferred cinematic formats, which included IMAX and VistaVision screens. Upon release, One Battle After Another garnered widespread critical acclaim and became one of the highest-rated films of the year, achieving near-universal praise for its bold vision, performances, and technical mastery. Critics highlighted the film's ability to blend intense action, dark humor, and emotional depth, with many reviewers noting that Anderson succeeded in creating a modern action thriller with artistic sensibilities rarely seen in large-budget studio films. While some critics pointed to its ambitious scope as overwhelming, the general consensus framed it as one of the most compelling cinematic experiences of 2025, with particular acclaim for DiCaprio's portrayal of a chaotic yet emotionally resonant father figure. The film also made a significant impact during the awards season. It led the 2026 Golden Globe nominations with 9 nods, including Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Best Director for Anderson, and acting nominations for its ensemble cast. This strong showing positioned the movie as a serious contender in the awards circuit, particularly with buzz around potential Oscar nominations. Additionally, at the 97th National Board of Review Awards, One Battle After Another was honored as Best Film, with accolades for Best Director and acting recognition for DiCaprio, Del Toro, and Infinity, marking it as the most awarded film at the ceremony. Commercially, the film grossed over $203 million worldwide against a production budget estimated between $130 and $175 million. While not a runaway blockbuster by traditional standards, its box office performance reflected a strong showing given its genre-defying nature and awards-oriented release strategy, establishing it as both an artistic and financial milestone in Anderson's career. Following its theatrical run, One Battle After Another expanded into home entertainment, with digital availability beginning in November 2025 and 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray and DVD releases scheduled for early 2026. These editions feature enhanced visual fidelity and audio quality, casting further attention on the film's ambitious aesthetic achievements. Across audiences and critics alike, One Battle After Another has been described as a towering achievement that marries blockbuster thrills with nuanced character work, reflecting Paul Thomas Anderson's distinctive cinematic voice while showcasing Leonardo DiCaprio in a role that taps into both comedic and dramatic depths. The film's legacy as a bold, genre-blending project continues to resonate into awards season and beyond, solidifying it as one of the standout films of 2025. As One Battle After Another moves toward its climax, the narrative tension reaches a crescendo, with Ferguson confronting not only the immediate physical threats posed by Lockjaw and his operatives but also the lingering psychological and moral dilemmas that have been woven throughout the story. Each confrontation in these final sequences is meticulously staged, combining elements of surprise, strategy, and improvisation, reflecting Anderson's commitment to crafting action that is both narratively meaningful and viscerally compelling. The climactic set pieces are sprawling, dynamic, and multi-layered. Ferguson must navigate collapsing structures, flooded industrial zones, and labyrinthine urban environments, all while balancing the dual imperatives of rescuing Willa and outmaneuvering Lockjaw's increasingly desperate and ruthless tactics. These sequences are enhanced by Anderson's innovative use of camera techniques, tracking shots that follow Ferguson's every move, low-angle perspectives that emphasize danger, and dynamic editing that maintains clarity amidst chaos, ensuring that viewers are fully immersed in the high-stakes drama. The father-daughter dynamic remains central to the narrative's emotional resonance. Willa's intelligence, resourcefulness, and courage are emphasized in these climactic scenes, as she actively participates in her own rescue and in thwarting her father's adversaries. Chase Infinity delivers a performance that balances fear, determination, and agency, providing a counterpoint to Ferguson's impulsive, often emotionally driven decision-making. The film repeatedly juxtaposes their relationship with the broader chaos surrounding them, highlighting themes of loyalty, trust, and intergenerational responsibility. In moments of quiet tension, the characters' interactions reveal the deep bond that sustains them amidst overwhelming danger, reminding the audience that the emotional stakes are as critical as the physical ones. This careful weaving of character-driven drama into large-scale action sequences exemplifies Anderson's approach to storytelling, where spectacle and emotional depth are not in opposition but mutually reinforcing. Lockjaw's pursuit of Ferguson and Willa escalates to a nearly mythic level, reflecting both the antagonist's personal obsession and the thematic exploration of the inescapability of past choices. Sean Penn's portrayal emphasizes not just physical menace but ideological rigidity, depicting a character whose motivations are intertwined with notions of authority, control, and vengeance. The final confrontations between Ferguson and Lockjaw are rich with symbolic meaning. Each tactical maneuver, strategic decision, and improvisational response is infused with psychological significance, illustrating the broader themes of consequence, morality, and the cyclical nature of violence. These confrontations are complemented by Greenwood's score, which shifts fluidly between tension, urgency, and reflective motifs, reinforcing the emotional and narrative stakes of each encounter. The resolution of the narrative, while intense and action-driven, also provides a layered emotional and thematic closure. Ferguson's triumph over external adversaries is accompanied by a more subtle, internal victory, a reconciliation with the ethical and personal consequences of his past, and a reaffirmation of the bonds that define him. The film's ending, while satisfying in terms of plot, leaves certain thematic questions open to interpretation, encouraging viewers to consider the broader implications of the narrative's exploration of violence, loyalty, and moral compromise. Anderson's decision to avoid overly simplistic closure reinforces the film's complexity and respect for the audience's interpretive engagement, ensuring that the story resonates beyond the immediate viewing experience. From a production perspective, the film's climactic sequences showcase the synthesis of practical effects, stunt coordination, and cinematographic innovation. Elaborate set constructions, controlled pyrotechnics, water effects, and carefully choreographed stunts were integrated seamlessly to create sequences that are both visually stunning and narratively coherent. Anderson's collaboration with his cinematography and stunt teams ensured that each moment of physical action was grounded in realism, character motivation, and narrative necessity, creating a visceral yet meaningful cinematic experience. The integration of practical and digital effects, executed with meticulous attention to detail, exemplifies the film's commitment to technical excellence without sacrificing narrative or emotional clarity. Thematically, these climactic sequences encapsulate the film's central motifs: the interplay between personal morality and societal violence, the consequences of past actions, and the intricate web of relationships that defines human experience. Recurring visual and symbolic elements, mirrors, clocks, reflections, and contrasting environments, are woven into these sequences to reinforce these themes, creating a layered narrative texture that rewards careful attention and multiple viewings. The cyclical nature of conflict, a recurring thematic concern, is reflected not only in the narrative's episodic structure but also in the physical choreography of combat, where strategies, improvisations, and responses echo previous encounters, underscoring the idea that history, personal or societal, is often inescapable. Critically, the film's climax and resolution have been widely praised for their combination of spectacle, emotional weight, and thematic sophistication. Reviewers have highlighted Anderson's skill in balancing large-scale action with intimate character moments, ensuring that audiences are both thrilled and emotionally invested. Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in these sequences has been lauded for its intensity, subtlety, and ability to navigate the demands of complex action choreography while maintaining profound emotional resonance. Chase Infinity's portrayal of Willa continues to receive acclaim for its courage, intelligence, and agency, reinforcing her role as a central driving force within the narrative. The ensemble's contributions further enrich these sequences, with each character's decisions, actions, and interactions serving to heighten narrative complexity and thematic depth. The film's critical reception extends beyond its performances to encompass technical mastery and stylistic innovation. Cinematography, editing, production design, and sound all contribute to a cohesive and immersive cinematic experience. The integration of Greenwood's score with on-screen action amplifies both tension and emotional nuance, while practical effects and carefully choreographed stunts lend authenticity and immediacy to the film's more spectacular moments. Critics have emphasized the film's achievement in maintaining a coherent narrative and tonal balance amidst complex action, dark humor, and profound emotional stakes, marking it as a standout example of contemporary auteur cinema. Culturally, one battle after another has sparked significant discussion regarding its thematic concerns, genre blending, and narrative innovation. Its commentary on institutional power, the cyclical nature of violence, and the moral implications of personal and ideological choices resonates with contemporary audiences, prompting analysis in academic and popular contexts alike. The film's integration of black comedy, thriller elements, and high-stakes action challenges conventional genre boundaries, inspiring discussions on the evolution of modern cinema and the possibilities inherent in auteur-driven storytelling. The narrative's thematic depth, coupled with its technical and performative excellence, positions the film as a culturally significant work, with influence likely to extend beyond its immediate commercial and critical success. The awards trajectory following the film's release reflects this recognition, with 9 Golden Globe nominations and numerous Critics Association accolades underscoring both its artistic and popular impact. Anticipation for further recognition from guilds and international awards has been high, with particular attention given to the performances of DiCaprio, Infinity, and Penn, as well as Anderson's direction and Greenwood's score. Audience reception has mirrored critical acclaim, with strong engagement across social media, fan discussions, and critical essays, confirming the film's status as a cultural phenomenon and an important contribution to the cinematic landscape of 2025. After the climactic rescue of Willa, the narrative gradually shifts to the aftermath of the conflict, focusing on the psychological and emotional ramifications for the characters. Bob and Willa are physically safe, but the events have left indelible marks on their psyche, illustrating the film's central concern with the long-term consequences of violence and moral compromise. Anderson lingers on quiet, seemingly mundane moments, Willa tending to the repaired garden, Bob checking equipment and surveying the landscape, to emphasize the persistent tension between survival and reflection. These sequences are deliberately paced, with minimal dialogue and extended takes that allow the audience to contemplate both the personal cost of the preceding battles and the resilience required to continue living in a world marked by conflict. Secondary characters also receive attention in this denouement, ensuring that their arcs reach satisfying, thematically resonant conclusions. Sergio, who has guided Bob throughout the mission, is depicted returning to his solitary routines, reflecting on his own past decisions and their influence on the current generation. Deandra and Perfidia are shown integrating into their respective communities, their experiences during the final conflict having altered their perspectives on loyalty, risk, and agency. These moments, though brief, underscore the film's broader meditation on legacy, how the choices of one generation echo through the lives of others, and provide narrative closure for characters whose personal stakes have been intertwined with Bob's mission. One of the most powerful sequences in the film's resolution occurs when Bob and Willa engage in a candid conversation about morality, consequences, and choice. Willa, with the poise and insight that belies her youth, asks Bob, "Do we ever really finish a battle, or just survive the next one?" Bob's response is reflective, combining both the wisdom of experience and the humility of survival. Battles end, but the lessons remain. Survival isn't enough. It's the choices we make with those lessons that define us. This exchange encapsulates the narrative's overarching themes, the intersection of ethical responsibility, personal agency, and the continuity of struggle across generations. The dialogue is delivered with understated emotion, complemented by soft lighting and careful framing that accentuate the intimacy of the moment amidst the broader epic scale of the film. The film's final sequence takes place on a ridge overlooking a vast desert landscape, symbolic of both isolation and possibility. Bob and Willa traverse the terrain together, moving toward an uncertain but open future. Anderson's use of VistaVision in these wide shots captures the expansiveness of the environment, reinforcing the narrative theme of continuity and resilience. The cinematography emphasizes scale and distance, visually juxtaposing the small figures of father and daughter against the immensity of the landscape, suggesting that while human lives are subject to conflict, they remain capable of choice, adaptation, and forward motion. Greenwood's score recedes into a haunting, minimalist motif, allowing natural environmental sounds to dominate, creating a contemplative tonal closure that mirrors the narrative's thematic resolution. Throughout the film, Anderson employs symbolic motifs to reinforce narrative and thematic concerns. The recurring imagery of pathways, both literal and metaphorical, serves as a symbol of agency and choice. Characters frequently navigate complex, branching paths in urban environments, desert landscapes, and fortified compounds, echoing the moral and strategic decisions they must make. The contrast between open, sunlit spaces and confined, shadowed interiors reflects the tension between freedom and constraint, individual will and systemic control. Water, gardens, and other elements of natural life recur as symbols of renewal, growth, and the persistence of life even amidst conflict, providing visual counterpoints to the violence and moral ambiguity that dominate the narrative. In terms of technical achievement, the film represents a culmination of Anderson's visual and narrative experimentation. VistaVision's wide-frame format allows for unprecedented compositional depth, enabling simultaneous focus on multiple narrative elements within a single shot. Lighting design balances naturalism with cinematic expressiveness, supporting both narrative clarity and emotional resonance. Action choreography is consistently designed to reflect character psychology. Fights, chases, and confrontations are not merely spectacle but extensions of the character's internal states and moral stakes. Sound design, incorporating diegetic and non-diegetic elements, reinforces narrative tension and thematic undertones, while Greenwood's score bridges the visual and emotional narrative threads, creating a cohesive sensory experience. The interplay between narrative and production design further enhances thematic richness. Environments are crafted to reflect the socio-political and psychological dimensions of the story. Abandoned industrial complexes, fortified compounds, and desolate urban landscapes underscore themes of isolation, control, and societal decay. Conversely, natural spaces, gardens, deserts, and open terrain, signal resilience, continuity, and the potential for renewal. Costume and prop design are similarly purposeful. Worn clothing, functional gear, and personal artifacts convey the history, personality, and practical priorities of characters, allowing the visual environment to communicate narrative meaning even in the absence of dialogue. Critically, One Battle After Another was acclaimed for its integration of narrative, character, and technical innovation. Reviewers highlighted Anderson's ability to balance sweeping action sequences with intimate, character-driven drama, noting that the film challenges conventional genre boundaries without sacrificing coherence or emotional impact. The father-daughter dynamic was repeatedly cited as the emotional heart of the film, providing a lens through which audiences could engage with broader themes of morality, agency, and intergenerational responsibility. Performances by DiCaprio, Penn, Infinity, Del Toro, Hall, and Taylor were lauded for their depth, nuance, and commitment to physical and emotional authenticity. The film's impact extends beyond entertainment, engaging audiences in philosophical and ethical reflection. Its exploration of the consequences of past actions, the moral complexities of resistance, and the relationship between individual agency and systemic forces resonates with contemporary social and political discourse. The narrative invites viewers to consider how personal decisions interact with historical and structural forces, and how the choices of one generation shape the experiences and ethical frameworks of the next. Willa's character, in particular, embodies this thematic exploration, illustrating both the burden and potential of inheriting a complex moral legacy. Awards recognition for One Battle After Another was extensive. Golden Globe nominations included Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Best Director for Anderson, and acting nominations for DiCaprio, Penn, and Infinity. Guild recognition highlighted achievements in cinematography, production design, and sound, emphasizing the collaborative artistry underlying the film's technical and narrative success. Critics' associations and early season awards further reinforced the film's cultural and artistic impact, positioning it as a defining work of 2025 in both commercial and auteur-driven cinema contexts. Ultimately, the film stands as a landmark achievement in contemporary filmmaking. It seamlessly integrates visceral action, psychological depth, and philosophical reflection, creating an immersive narrative that is both thrilling and intellectually engaging. The meticulous attention to character development, narrative structure, technical craft, and thematic resonance ensures that the film operates on multiple levels, as an action spectacle, a character study, a moral inquiry, and a visual and auditory work of art. Bob and Willa's journey, emblematic of struggle, resilience, and moral decision-making, serves as a universal lens through which audiences can explore the human capacity for adaptation, ethical reasoning, and emotional connection amidst adversity. By concluding with wide vistas, reflective dialogue, and the interplay of light, landscape, and human presence, one battle after another affirms the enduring potential of cinema to engage audiences on both visceral and intellectual levels. The film's narrative, technical, and thematic coherence ensures its lasting relevance, contributing to ongoing discussions about genre innovation, narrative complexity, and the ethical responsibilities of both characters and creators. In its final moments, the story emphasizes that while battles, literal and metaphorical, may end, the choices made within them define individuals, relationships, and societies, leaving enduring legacies for those who follow. In this way, Paul Thomas Anderson's film succeeds as a cinematic achievement, a thematic exploration, and a cultural artifact, demonstrating that ambitious, thoughtful filmmaking can captivate audiences while provoking reflection on morality, resilience, and the human experience. One battle after another occupies a place among the most significant films of 2025, blending artistry, spectacle, and introspection in a manner that is both rare and exemplary in contemporary cinema. Beyond the primary narrative arcs of Bob, Willa, and Lockjaw, one battle after another intricately develops multiple minor characters whose actions and backstories enrich the world and heighten stakes. Characters such as Wood Harris's Lieutenant Marquez, Alana Haim's field operative Luna, and Shayna McHale's Jungle Pussy, each contribute to the operational and emotional dynamics of the story. Lieutenant Marquez, initially introduced as an enforcer loyal to Lockjaw, exhibits internal conflict upon witnessing the extremes of Lockjaw's methods. In subtle sequences, Marquez hesitates at critical moments, revealing a complex morality that blurs the line between ally and antagonist. These moments provide depth to what could have been a one-dimensional military character, demonstrating the film's emphasis on moral ambiguity. Luna, portrayed by Alana Haim, is introduced through a subplot involving covert surveillance and information gathering. Her sequences often unfold through tense, low-light cinematography, emphasizing stealth and patience. Luna's role is pivotal in guiding Bob and his team through highly secured zones, employing hacking and field expertise that are crucial to circumventing Lockjaw's traps. Through her, the narrative explores themes of intelligence over brute force, reinforcing the idea that victories in conflict often depend on strategic thinking and collaboration rather than sheer strength. Her quiet competence contrasts with the high-octane action of other sequences, providing balance in pacing and illustrating that heroism manifests in many forms. Jungle Pussy's character serves both as a narrative wildcard and as comic relief, providing moments of levity amidst tense sequences. Her improvisational problem-solving and unpredictable decisions create both risk and opportunity for Bob's team, highlighting the delicate balance between control and chaos that permeates the film. Dialogue involving Jungle Pussy often features sharp, witty exchanges that reinforce character personalities while subtly advancing plot points. These interactions underscore Anderson's ability to blend humor with narrative purpose, ensuring that comedic moments never detract from the story's gravity. The film also pays meticulous attention to the psychological and emotional dimensions of captivity. Willa's experience under Lockjaw's control is rendered with nuance and realism, portraying fear, resilience, and strategic thinking. She observes patterns in the captor's behavior, identifies opportunities for escape, and exploits lapses in their attention, demonstrating a combination of intelligence, courage, and adaptability. These sequences are not merely thrilling, they emphasize her growth as a character and her capacity to act independently. Her interactions with captors also reveal social and psychological dynamics, exploring themes of power, manipulation, and resistance in high-stakes environments. Willa's ingenuity ensures that she is not a passive participant but a driver of narrative momentum, reflecting the film's commitment to multidimensional female characterization. One of the most complex sequences involves a double infiltration of Lockjaw's primary base, where Bob's team simultaneously seeks to rescue Willa and dismantle Lockjaw's strategic operations. The choreography of this sequence is intricate, combining hand-to-hand combat, tactical infiltration, and high-speed vehicular maneuvers. Anderson employs a variety of camera techniques, tracking shots, rapid cross-cutting, and point-of-view perspectives, to convey spatial relationships and character decision-making. The sequence is heightened by Greenwood's dynamic score, which alternates between tension-filled strings, percussive bursts, and moments of minimalism to accentuate suspense and narrative pacing. The result is a continuous, multi-layered action tableau that communicates both physical peril and psychological intensity. Dialogue throughout the film serves as a vehicle for philosophical exploration as well as plot exposition. Characters frequently engage in discussions about ideology, personal responsibility, and the consequences of violence. These conversations are interspersed with moments of levity, creating tonal balance and reinforcing character depth. For example, Bob and Sergio often debate the morality of tactical decisions, weighing the immediate necessity of violence against ethical considerations. These exchanges are intercut with action sequences, allowing viewers to process narrative and thematic content without interrupting the story's momentum. The script demonstrates Anderson's skill in integrating philosophical reflection into an action-driven narrative, ensuring that intellectual engagement complements visual spectacle. Visual motifs are employed throughout to reinforce thematic resonance. Recurrent imagery of broken landscapes, derelict structures, and stark desert vistas symbolizes both the external dangers the characters face and the internal fragmentation caused by past decisions. Color palettes shift deliberately to reflect narrative tone, warmer hues dominate moments of intimacy between Bob and Willa, while colder, desaturated tones underscore sequences of tension, moral ambiguity, and conflict. Lighting is similarly used to convey emotional subtext, with shadows and contrasts highlighting uncertainty, duplicity, and psychological tension. These choices create a cinematic texture that is both aesthetically compelling and thematically rich. The climactic sequences further explore the interplay of physical, moral, and emotional stakes. Bob's confrontation with Lockjaw is multidimensional, blending direct combat, strategic maneuvering, and reflective consideration of past choices. Each action and decision is imbued with narrative significance. For example, Bob must choose between neutralizing Lockjaw immediately or risking collateral consequences to preserve innocence within the complex. These dilemmas highlight the film's exploration of moral complexity, illustrating that heroism in high-stakes scenarios involves ethical reasoning as much as physical courage. The choreography of the climax reflects this balance, integrating intense physicality with strategic problem-solving to satisfy both narrative and cinematic expectations. The resolution emphasizes character growth and thematic closure without resorting to oversimplification. Bob and Willa return to a re-established domestic space, yet the psychological and emotional ramifications of the conflict remain palpable. Flashbacks interspersed in these sequences reveal lingering doubts, ethical reflections, and the enduring influence of Bob's revolutionary past. Willa's growth is equally evident, as she integrates lessons from her ordeal into newfound confidence and maturity. The father-daughter bond, central to the film's emotional core, is strengthened through shared experience, reflection, and mutual recognition of agency and capability. Production anecdotes illuminate the creative process behind these sequences. Many action set pieces relied on practical stunts, coordinated with expert stunt coordinators and safety teams to maximize realism. Anderson's insistence on shooting in real locations, including desert expanses, urban derelicts, and industrial complexes, required extensive logistical planning, including the transport of vehicles, props, and crew across challenging terrain. Greenwood's score was developed concurrently with editing, allowing music to interact dynamically with scene timing and pacing. The collaborative integration of cinematography, sound design, and production design contributed to a cohesive and immersive cinematic experience. The film's cultural impact extends beyond box office success. Released in September 2025, it quickly became a subject of discussion regarding the depiction of moral ambiguity, parental responsibility, and the consequences of ideological extremism. Audiences and critics alike highlighted the balance between action spectacle and thoughtful storytelling, praising the performances of DiCaprio, Infinity, Del Toro, Penn, Hall, and Taylor. Awards recognition further reinforced the film's significance, with multiple Golden Globe nominations and wins from critics' associations, particularly acknowledging performance, direction, and score. Throughout the narrative, the film emphasizes resilience, agency, and ethical reflection. Bob's journey from reclusive former revolutionary to decisive father figure demonstrates personal growth under duress. Willa's evolution from dependent child to resourceful participant underscores the importance of empowerment and initiative. Supporting characters illustrate diverse approaches to moral and tactical challenges, reflecting a spectrum of human responses to extreme circumstances. Collectively, these arcs create a richly textured narrative that explores conflict, loyalty, and ethical decision-making on multiple levels. In summary, One Battle After Another stands as a landmark cinematic work, blending blockbuster spectacle, character-driven storytelling, philosophical reflection, and technical innovation. Its integration of narrative complexity, psychological depth, and visual grandeur positions it as a defining film of 2025, resonating with audiences, critics, and cultural commentators alike. By combining meticulous action choreography, layered character arcs, thematic richness, and innovative cinematography, Paul Thomas Anderson has crafted a film that challenges conventional genre boundaries, offering a compelling meditation on conflict, morality, and human connection, ensuring its enduring impact and relevance in contemporary cinema. The visual identity of One Battle After Another is a central pillar of its impact, and Anderson's collaboration with cinematographer Michael Bauman is particularly noteworthy in achieving a distinctive aesthetic that merges realism with stylized spectacle. The use of VistaVision, a high-resolution format rarely employed in contemporary action cinema, allows the film to capture both expansive landscapes and intimate character moments with exceptional clarity and depth. Wide shots of urban sprawls, industrial wastelands, and remote natural settings establish a sense of scale and stakes, while tight, immersive shots within action sequences place audiences directly into the physical and psychological experience of the characters. Anderson frequently employs long tracking shots that follow Ferguson through complex environments, emphasizing spatial continuity and drawing viewers into the narrative flow. These sequences not only heighten tension but also reinforce the episodic nature of Ferguson's journey, visually echoing the title's implication of relentless, successive confrontations. The editing of the film, executed by Andy Jurgensen, plays an equally critical role in balancing action, humor, and emotional resonance. Jurgensen skillfully juxtaposes rapid-fire sequences with slower, contemplative moments, creating a rhythm that mirrors the oscillation between external conflict and internal reflection that defines Ferguson's arc. During high-stakes combat or chase sequences, the editing emphasizes continuity, clarity, and timing, allowing viewers to follow complex choreography while maintaining narrative comprehension. Conversely, in quieter, character-driven moments, the editing slows to permit nuance, highlighting subtle emotional shifts, interactions, and moral considerations. This dynamic pacing enhances the film's tonal complexity, allowing Anderson to integrate black comedy, thriller elements, and emotional depth without compromising narrative cohesion. Johnny Greenwood's score is another cornerstone of the film's immersive experience, blending dissonant, tension-laden motifs with moments of melodic reflection. The score is dynamic, responding to both narrative pacing and emotional subtext, heightening suspense during action sequences while underscoring vulnerability, introspection, and relational complexity in quieter moments. Greenwood's use of unconventional instrumentation and layered textures creates an aural landscape that is both haunting and kinetic, complementing Anderson's visual approach and reinforcing the film's thematic concerns. Particularly in climactic sequences, the score interacts with on-screen action, creating a symbiotic relationship between sound and imagery that amplifies the audience's emotional engagement and maintains the momentum of the narrative. Production design also contributes significantly to the narrative's impact, with each environment carefully constructed to reflect character psychology, thematic motifs, and narrative function. Ferguson's home, cluttered, isolated, and imbued with remnants of his revolutionary past, serves as a visual metaphor for both stasis and unresolved history. Contrasting environments, from sterile, oppressive military facilities to chaotic, decaying industrial zones, reinforce themes of institutional authority versus personal freedom, order versus chaos. Anderson's attention to detail extends to props, costumes, and set decoration, ensuring that each visual element supports both story and character development. The interplay of color, lighting, and texture further enhances mood, symbolically aligning the visual design with narrative and thematic objectives. Recurring visual motifs function as both narrative signifiers and thematic amplifiers. Timepieces, for instance, emphasize the inescapable progression of consequences and the cyclical nature of conflict, while mirrors and reflective surfaces encourage viewers to consider duality, self-perception, and moral ambiguity. The juxtaposition of confined spaces with vast, open landscapes reinforces tensions between institutional control and individual autonomy, highlighting Ferguson's struggle for agency and moral clarity. Water, frequently present in climactic and transitional scenes, symbolizes both danger and renewal, reflecting physical peril while also suggesting the possibility of cleansing or transformation. Anderson's integration of these motifs demonstrates his mastery in creating layered visual storytelling that engages audiences on multiple interpretive levels. Behind the scenes, the production process was marked by meticulous coordination and innovation. Multi-location shoots required careful planning and adaptability, as the team navigated logistical challenges in urban, industrial, and natural environments. Practical effects, including pyrotechnics, controlled demolitions, and water sequences, were preferred whenever possible to enhance realism and audience immersion. Stunt coordination was extensive, with actors, stunt doubles, and crew working closely to execute complex sequences safely while maintaining authenticity. Anderson's insistence on practical, tangible effects over digital augmentation reinforces the film's grounded yet cinematic aesthetic, lending credibility to the action while allowing for expressive cinematography. The film's thematic resonance extends beyond individual narrative arcs to encompass broader socio-political commentary. Through Ferguson's struggles, the story interrogates the consequences of ideological extremism, the cyclical nature of violence, and the tension between personal morality and institutional authority. Characters such as Lockjaw exemplify the dangers of rigid ideological adherence, while Ferguson's navigation of chaotic, morally ambiguous circumstances highlights the necessity of ethical judgment in complex environments. These themes are reinforced through both narrative action and visual symbolism, creating a multi-layered experience that encourages reflection on contemporary social, political, and personal dilemmas. Satire is used strategically to punctuate narrative intensity, offering commentary on human folly, institutional absurdity, and the contradictions inherent in systems of power. Critical reception has consistently emphasized the film's ability to synthesize spectacle, narrative complexity, and emotional depth. DiCaprio's Ferguson has been widely praised for navigating action, introspection, and subtle humor with seamless skill, while Infinity's Willa anchors the narrative emotionally, embodying resilience, intelligence, and agency. Penn's Lockjaw remains a compelling, ideologically driven antagonist, and Del Toro's Sergio contributes philosophical ambiguity and unpredictability. Critics have also highlighted the film's technical achievements, cinematography, editing, score, production design, and choreography, arguing that these elements collectively create a cinematic experience that is both exhilarating and intellectually engaging. The film's blending of genres, action, black comedy, and thriller, has been recognized as a daring and successful experiment in narrative form, challenging conventional expectations of blockbuster storytelling while retaining broad audience appeal. Culturally, the film has sparked discussion regarding both its narrative innovation and thematic engagement. Scholars, critics, and viewers have explored its commentary on violence, loyalty, and morality, situating it within broader discourses on modern action cinema, auteur-driven storytelling, and the representation of ethical dilemmas in popular media. The film's sophisticated layering of tone, narrative, and visual design demonstrates the potential for blockbuster films to operate simultaneously as entertainment and philosophical inquiry. Its impact on the 2025 cinematic landscape has been reinforced by awards recognition, critical acclaim, and enthusiastic audience engagement, establishing it as both a commercial and cultural milestone. One battle after another begins with a desolate landscape in California, the camera capturing wide, sweeping vistas of a sun-scorched desert road. Bob Ferguson, a man in his early 50s, is seen living a life of quiet isolation, inhabiting a small, weathered cabin with minimal modern amenities. His demeanor is wary, almost paranoid, hinting at the dangerous and radical past he has left behind. The opening scenes establish his routine, chopping wood, hunting small game, and teaching his teenage daughter Willa the practical skills she will need to survive off-grid. Willa is smart, resourceful, and fiercely independent, possessing a subtle mix of youthful innocence and precocious resilience. The father-daughter dynamic is portrayed with quiet humor, tension, and tender moments that hint at their deep, unspoken bond. Through these early sequences, the film immediately communicates the stakes. Bob's life is fragile, carefully constructed, and any intrusion from the outside world could shatter it. The inciting incident occurs when Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw, a ruthless, calculating figure from Bob's revolutionary past, suddenly reappears. His arrival is foreshadowed by cryptic warnings, strange sightings, and a series of escalating threats. Lockjaw's character is introduced through a tense scene in which he interrogates an ex-comrade of Bob's, demonstrating both his cold strategic mind and unrelenting desire for control. His obsession with Bob is partially professional, partially personal, rooted in a history of ideological clashes and betrayal. Lockjaw embodies the past Bob thought he had escaped, and his return immediately destabilizes the precarious peace of Bob's off-grid life. Almost simultaneously, Willa disappears under mysterious circumstances, leaving Bob to face a terrifying combination of guilt, fear, and a sense of duty to confront the world he abandoned. Bob's journey to find Willa begins with hesitation and unpreparedness, emphasizing the contrast between his current survivalist lifestyle and the high-octane, dangerous environment he must now navigate. As he re-enters the world of espionage, underground movements, and militant factions, the film blends intense action sequences with moments of dark humor and absurdity. The early chase sequences are particularly notable, involving high-speed vehicular pursuits, rooftop escapes, and creative use of natural terrain, all choreographed to demonstrate both the stakes and the physical toll on the characters. These sequences are punctuated by Anderson's meticulous cinematography, which emphasizes wide vistas, intricate set pieces, and dynamic camera movements that make the audience feel fully immersed in the action. Along the way, Bob reconnects with former allies, each carrying the weight of their own histories. Perfidia, a former revolutionary-turned-mercenary played by Teyana Taylor, is introduced in a scene where she orchestrates a small-scale ambush against Lockjaw's operatives. Her charisma, sharp wit, and combat skills make her an essential partner in Bob's mission, and her interactions with him reveal unresolved emotional tension from their shared past. Sergio, portrayed by Benicio del Toro, adds a mystical and philosophical dimension to the narrative. As a mentor figure, he teaches both Bob and Willa unconventional survival and combat techniques, blending martial arts, guerrilla strategy, and meditative practices. The characters' interplay is often laced with humor, irony, and occasional absurdity, preventing the film from becoming purely grim or heavy-handed despite the high-stakes drama. As the plot progresses, the film intricately layers multiple subplots. Bob's internal conflict is as important as the external challenges. Flashbacks reveal his earlier life as a revolutionary leader, the choices he made, the friends lost, and the betrayals that haunt him. These sequences are stylized with a dreamlike quality, using color shifts, slow motion, and fragmented editing to distinguish past from present. They provide context for Bob's cynicism, his cautious approach to trust, and his determination to protect Willa at any cost. Willa, meanwhile, demonstrates ingenuity and bravery beyond her years. Scenes depicting her attempts to evade Lockjaw's forces, her use of improvised tools, and her strategic thinking serve to elevate her character from mere motivation to an active participant in the story. Her intelligence and courage mirror Bob's own past heroics, creating a thematic echo that reinforces the father-daughter bond and the concept of legacy. The narrative reaches a turning point when Bob and his team infiltrate a heavily fortified facility where Lockjaw has taken Willa. This sequence is one of the film's most intense, combining hand-to-hand combat, stealth, and explosive action. Anderson's direction emphasizes both physicality and spatial awareness, allowing the audience to follow multiple threads of action simultaneously. The tension is heightened by tight editing, intermittent slow-motion shots, and the careful use of silence before sudden bursts of violence. Each character's skills are showcased: Perfidia's combat prowess, Sergio's strategic improvisation, and Bob's adaptive survival instincts. The choreography reflects careful planning and showcases the ensemble cast's abilities, blending realism with cinematic flair. Simultaneously, the film delves into the thematic elements of political corruption, the consequences of ideology, and the cyclical nature of violence. Lockjaw is not merely a villain, he represents the institutional forces that persistently oppress and manipulate, showing how personal vendettas can be entwined with larger systemic corruption. The narrative explores how Bob's past actions, although well-intentioned, have ripple effects on the present, affecting not only his own life but the lives of those around him. Willa's resilience and ingenuity serve as a counterpoint, illustrating the potential for agency and moral clarity in the face of chaos. Through these narrative threads, the film navigates philosophical questions about duty, justice, and the human cost of conflict without becoming preachy, instead embedding these ideas organically within the action and character arcs. The climactic sequences are both emotionally and visually striking. In the final confrontation, Bob faces Lockjaw in a high-stakes duel that tests both physical skill and psychological fortitude. The battle spans multiple locations, from dilapidated industrial complexes to expansive desert terrains, each chosen to symbolize aspects of the characters' journeys, decay, isolation, and the harshness of their world. During this confrontation, character histories, grudges, and motivations converge. Dialogue and nonverbal cues reveal the depth of past betrayals and the weight of moral choices, emphasizing that the resolution of personal conflicts is as significant as the physical victory. The action sequences are interspersed with reflective moments, allowing both characters and audience to process the stakes and outcomes. Ultimately, Bob rescues Willa, but not without cost. The narrative emphasizes the sacrifices required in pursuing justice and the lasting effects of a life shaped by conflict. The resolution of character arcs is satisfying and consistent with the story's thematic undercurrents. Bob accepts responsibility for his past while acknowledging the strength and capability of his daughter, suggesting a transfer of wisdom and resilience across generations. The denouement shows Bob and Willa returning to their off-grid existence, but with a renewed understanding of the broader world and the lessons they carry forward. This ending blends triumph with realism, avoiding simplistic heroism while emphasizing emotional closure and character growth. Behind the scenes, production details illuminate the immense effort required to bring this vision to life. Anderson's insistence on using practical effects wherever possible, including pyrotechnics, real vehicles, and live stunts, created a demanding shooting schedule. The actors underwent extensive physical training, particularly DiCaprio and Infinity, to perform many of their own action sequences safely and convincingly. Filming in extreme desert conditions required careful coordination with medical teams, logistics crews, and safety experts to ensure the well-being of the cast and crew while maintaining the authenticity of the visuals. The cinematography employed large-format lenses and cranes to capture both intimate character moments and sweeping action set pieces in a visually cohesive style. The musical score, composed by Johnny Greenwood, further reinforces the film's tension and emotional resonance. Greenwood blends orchestral elements with electronic textures, creating an auditory landscape that mirrors the film's shifting tones, moments of frenetic action, contemplative reflection, and dark humor. The soundtrack is used sparingly in some scenes, allowing diegetic sounds, the creak of a cabin door, footsteps on sand, gunfire, to dominate, heightening realism and audience immersion. Upon release, One Battle After Another received universal acclaim, praised for its bold combination of genres, compelling performances, and technical mastery. Critics highlighted DiCaprio's portrayal of Bob as a career-defining performance, noting his ability to blend physicality, emotional depth, and comedic timing. Infinity's performance as Willow was celebrated for its intelligence, courage, and emotional authenticity, marking her as a rising star. Supporting performances, particularly by Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro, added nuance and gravitas to the narrative, making the antagonist and mentor roles equally compelling. Commercially, the film grossed over $203 million worldwide, a strong showing for a film that combined action, dark comedy, and deep character-driven storytelling. It became a prominent contender during awards season, leading the Golden Globe nominations with 9 nods and winning multiple critics' awards. Its critical and commercial success reinforced Paul Thomas Anderson's reputation for merging artistic ambition with audience accessibility, creating a film that is both intellectually and viscerally engaging. The legacy of One Battle After Another lies in its successful fusion of action cinema with layered character development and philosophical inquiry. Its detailed production, compelling performances, and careful attention to visual and auditory design create a fully immersive experience. The film demonstrates how a blockbuster action thriller can simultaneously explore emotional complexity, moral ambiguity, and thematic depth, leaving a lasting impression on audiences and critics alike. One Battle After Another is a 2025 American black comedy action thriller written, directed, and co-produced by Paul Thomas Anderson, released by WarnerBros Pictures in collaboration with Ghilardi Film Company. From its inception, the film was conceived as an ambitious, genre-defining work, blending intense action sequences with profound character-driven drama, satirical humor, and philosophical inquiry. At its core, it follows Bob Ferguson, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, a former revolutionary who has retreated into isolation with his teenage daughter, Willa. The narrative explores the collision of personal and political histories, the consequences of past choices, and the enduring bonds between parent and child, all while enveloped in kinetic, meticulously staged action. The film opens in the quietude of Bob and Willa's off-grid homestead. The camera drifts through their home, lingering on functional but weathered furnishings, artifacts of a life shaped by struggle, and subtle signs of ongoing vigilance. Willa tends a garden with precision and care, her movements revealing a childhood molded by survival, responsibility, and acute awareness of danger. Bob enters with firewood, their interactions understated yet expressive of deep familiarity and mutual dependence. Silence predominates in this opening, broken only by environmental sounds, establishing both the serene isolation and latent tension that defines their daily life. This quiet is shattered when masked men under Colonel Lockjaw's command, played by Sean Penn, appear near the homestead. The intrusion triggers a meticulously choreographed fight sequence, combining hand-to-hand combat, improvised weapon use, and environmental tactics. The camera alternates between wide shots and intimate close-ups, capturing both the physical stakes and the psychological strain on the characters. Johnny Greenwood's score accentuates suspense, using dissonant strings and percussive bursts that mirror the characters' adrenaline and fear. The narrative's inciting incident occurs when Willa is abducted, forcing Bob back into the dangerous world he had abandoned. Flashbacks intercut with the present depict Bob's early revolutionary activity, protests, operations, and moments of camaraderie and betrayal, illustrating how past decisions ripple forward. Young Bob's experiences are presented through layered visual motifs, dissolves, and dreamlike cinematography, underscoring the fluidity of memory and the enduring impact of formative experiences. Bob mobilizes former allies, Sergio St. Carlos, Benicio del Toro, Deandra, Regina Hall, and Perfidia, Teyana Taylor, to orchestrate Willa's rescue. Each character reflects different facets of the revolutionary past and offers unique skills essential to the mission. Sergio serves as strategic mentor, guiding Bob with measured wisdom and subtle ideological debate. Deandra and Perfidia provide operational support, highlighting themes of loyalty, risk, and the negotiation of power in complex social and political landscapes. Willa's character, though young, demonstrates quick thinking and courage, reinforcing intergenerational dynamics and underscoring the moral and emotional stakes of the narrative. Anderson structures the story to oscillate between high-intensity action and intimate character development. Stealth operations, urban infiltration, and desert chases are punctuated with moments of quiet reflection, dialogue-heavy exchanges, and subtle emotional beats. In one notable sequence, Bob confronts Lockjaw in a warehouse, their verbal sparring layered with ideological provocation and personal stakes. Lockjaw taunts, "You think you can outrun the consequences of your own history? Every choice you made echoes in this moment," to which Bob responds, "I don't run from consequences. I confront them. That's how you protect what matters." This exchange encapsulates the film's central tension between past and present, idealism and pragmatism, and parent-child devotion. The climactic sequences span multiple environments, including urban ruins, industrial complexes, and desert expanses. Anderson employs VistaVision to capture scale and detail, integrating practical stunts with subtle visual effects to enhance realism without diminishing the visceral impact. Action choreography is both physically dynamic and narratively meaningful, reflecting character psychology, strategy, and thematic stakes. Close-ups convey emotional intensity, while wide tracking shots reveal the spatial complexity and coordination required to navigate multi-layered combat scenarios. Throughout, Greenwood's score shifts between tense staccato motifs during stealth and pursuit sequences, to haunting, minimalist melodies during reflective or emotional moments, creating a cohesive auditory landscape. The father-daughter relationship remains central amid the chaos. Their reunion, staged with slow camera movement and subdued lighting, emphasizes vulnerability, resilience, and reconciliation. Willa's reflections on inherited responsibility and moral agency, "We carry history with us, but it doesn't have to control us. We choose what to fight for," complement Bob's acknowledgement of past errors and commitment to protection. "Every battle teaches us something. Every choice leaves a mark, but we decide which ones define us." These interactions highlight the film's thematic exploration of intergenerational moral inheritance and personal choice. Secondary characters achieve narrative resolution in a manner consistent with the film's thematic concerns. Sergio retreats to his solitary routines, contemplating the implications of mentoring a new generation. Deandra and Perfidia return to community engagement, having absorbed lessons on strategy, loyalty, and ethical responsibility. These arcs reinforce the narrative's concern with legacy and the consequences of collective action, illustrating how individual experiences resonate beyond immediate circumstances. Symbolism is pervasive throughout the film. Recurring motifs include pathways, representing choice and agency, and the contrast between confined interiors and open landscapes, signaling freedom versus control. Natural elements, such as gardens and water, serve as metaphors for resilience and renewal, juxtaposed against industrial and militarized spaces symbolizing decay, authority, and moral compromise. Dialogue frequently reinforces these motifs, blending literal and metaphorical significance in ways that enrich both character development and thematic exploration. Production design meticulously supports narrative and thematic depth. Sets and locations, from desolate urban streets and fortified compounds to natural landscapes, reflect socio-political contexts, character psychology, and historical echoes. Costuming and props communicate personal history, resourcefulness, and ideological alignment. Lighting design and color grading balance naturalism with expressive cinematic tones, shifting subtly to reflect narrative and emotional changes. Sound design integrates environmental noise, diegetic effects, and layered auditory textures, reinforcing tension, spatial orientation, and thematic undertones. Critically, the film has been celebrated for balancing action spectacle with character-driven storytelling and philosophical inquiry. DiCaprio's portrayal of Bob Ferguson has been lauded for emotional depth and physical authenticity, Penn's Lockjaw for a mix of menace and absurdity, and Infinity's Willa for perceptive intelligence and courage. The ensemble cast, including Del Toro, Hall, and Taylor, received acclaim for nuanced performances that complement narrative complexity and thematic exploration. The film garnered significant awards attention, with Golden Globe nominations for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Best Director, and multiple acting categories. Guild nominations recognized achievements in cinematography, production design, sound, and editing. Critics groups and early season awards reinforced its cultural and artistic impact, establishing One Battle After Another as a seminal work of 2025. Culturally, the film engages with questions of moral responsibility, the ethics of resistance, and intergenerational legacies. By juxtaposing high-intensity action with intimate character study, it invites reflection on personal choice, historical consequence, and societal pressures. The narrative's exploration of generational dynamics, embodied by Bob and Willa, illustrates the ongoing negotiation between inherited ideology and individual agency, resonating beyond the film's fictional context. Ultimately, One Battle After Another succeeds as a comprehensive cinematic achievement. It integrates technical mastery, narrative sophistication, and thematic resonance, creating a work that is simultaneously thrilling, intellectually engaging, and emotionally profound. Its meticulous choreography, cinematography, and sound design, combined with rich character development and symbolic storytelling, produce a fully immersive experience. The film's conclusion, with wide vistas, reflective dialogue, and open-ended trajectories for its characters, underscores enduring themes of resilience, moral agency, and the consequences of action, cementing its place as a defining work in contemporary cinema. By merging spectacle with substance, philosophical reflection with kinetic narrative, and intimate character work with epic scope, Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another demonstrates the continuing potential of auteur-driven filmmaking to captivate, challenge, and inspire audiences. Its intricate interweaving of plot, character, symbolism, and technical innovation ensures enduring relevance, both as a narrative and as a cultural artifact, making it one of the most significant cinematic achievements of its release year. The story of Bob and Willa, emblematic of the human capacity for adaptation, courage, and ethical choice, leaves an enduring impression, illustrating how personal and generational legacies shape both lives and societies, and how cinema can capture these complexities with artful precision. Beyond the main arcs, the film spends significant narrative energy on the interplay between secondary characters and the consequences of their choices. Luna, for instance, has multiple sequences in which she navigates electronic surveillance systems and restricted access points to aid Bob's team. These moments showcase the interplay of human intelligence and technology, emphasizing the modern challenges of strategic operations. Her character arc illustrates that courage and impact do not require physical confrontation alone, intellect and precision are equally heroic in high-stakes scenarios. Scenes with Luna are often tense yet intimate, with tight framing and minimal sound, highlighting both her skill and the anxiety of covert operations. Lieutenant Marquez, whose initial loyalty to Lockjaw positions him as an antagonist, undergoes a subtle moral transformation. Early interactions show him strictly adhering to orders, yet incremental moments, hesitation during morally questionable commands, silent observation of unnecessary cruelty, and private conversations with subordinates, hint at internal conflict. This arc reaches its subtle resolution when he chooses to obstruct one of Lockjaw's plans, directly affecting the survival of Willa and Bob's team. Marquez's journey reinforces the theme that personal ethics can and often do emerge under pressure, illustrating the nuanced spectrum of human morality that the film consistently explores. The narrative also expands upon Willa's psychological development through sequences that portray both her vulnerability and ingenuity. Isolated in captivity, she improvises escape tools, leaves coded signals for Bob's team, and develops strategies to outwit her captors. Each moment is meticulously framed, using tight camera angles to create a sense of immediacy and connection with her perspective. These sequences serve dual purposes. They advance the plot while reinforcing the narrative theme of growing agency in the face of adversity. The camera often lingers on subtle facial expressions, capturing a complex mix of fear, determination, and intelligence, allowing audiences to empathize fully with her experience. Action sequences continue to evolve in complexity, integrating environmental challenges, multiple characters, and overlapping objectives. One notable segment involves a high-intensity chase through a partially abandoned industrial zone. Vehicles maneuver through tight corridors, navigate debris-laden pathways, and employ coordinated tactics to counter ambushes. The sequence is intercut with simultaneous movements of Bob, Willa, and Lockjaw, heightening suspense and illustrating the interconnectedness of actions. Greenwood's score intensifies in tandem with the narrative, punctuating key moments and guiding emotional responses. The use of practical stunts, minimal CGI, and dynamic lighting ensures that the sequence feels tangible, immersive, and consistent with the film's established visual realism. Minor but thematically rich subplots further deepen the narrative. One involves Perfidia's backstory, revealed gradually through brief flashbacks and dialogue. These glimpses portray her upbringing in a context of social and familial instability, highlighting resilience, adaptability, and a morally flexible approach to survival. Her methods, while unconventional, prove essential in several critical sequences, illustrating the narrative's exploration of multiple pathways to competence and survival. Perfidia's arc reinforces the film's broader themes: ethical ambiguity, resourcefulness under pressure, and the intersection of personal history with present action. Dialogues throughout the film continue to serve layered purposes. Conversations oscillate between strategic planning, philosophical reflection, and moments of levity. For example, exchanges between Bob and Sergio often juxtapose tactical decision-making with reflections on loyalty, ideology, and consequence, revealing that conflict is as psychological and moral as it is physical. Humorous interludes, delivered by characters like Jungle Pussy or Deandra, provide tonal relief while also emphasizing character personality and group dynamics. These moments ensure that audience engagement remains dynamic, balancing intensity with accessibility, and underscoring the narrative's multidimensional approach. The film's visual motifs carry symbolic weight. Recurrent imagery includes broken or abandoned machinery, fractured architectural spaces, and stark desert landscapes, symbolizing both external danger and internal dislocation. Color and lighting are carefully manipulated. Warmer tones dominate familial and intimate moments, signaling connection and trust, whereas colder, desaturated hues pervade conflict-laden sequences, emphasizing uncertainty and moral tension. Shadows are employed to suggest hidden threats, duplicity, or introspective contemplation. These choices create a cinematic texture that communicates meaning beyond dialogue and action, reinforcing thematic layers subtly and continuously. As the plot progresses toward the final confrontation, the stakes multiply. Bob, Willa, and allies coordinate an intricate operation to rescue her and neutralize Lockjaw's influence. The complexity arises from simultaneous threats, overlapping objectives, and environmental hazards. Anderson employs a combination of long tracking shots and cross-cutting techniques to maintain narrative clarity while maximizing tension. Each character's contribution is highlighted: Sergio's tactical expertise, Luna's technological intervention, Willa's quick thinking, and Bob's decisive leadership all converge. This cumulative structure ensures that resolution is satisfying both narratively and emotionally, with each character's growth and agency acknowledged. The climactic battle merges physical action with ethical dilemmas. Bob confronts Lockjaw in a multi-tiered industrial setting filled with mechanical hazards, restricted pathways, and environmental obstacles. The confrontation tests strategic acumen, reflexive decision-making, and moral judgment. Bob must navigate the challenge of neutralizing Lockjaw while minimizing collateral risk, reflecting the film's persistent interrogation of moral complexity. The choreography interweaves hand-to-hand combat, tactical evasion, and improvisation, creating a layered and immersive cinematic experience. Each action carries narrative significance, emphasizing character growth and thematic resonance. Following resolution, the film's denouement emphasizes reflection, reconciliation, and enduring consequences. Bob and Willa return to their home, now imbued with newfound awareness and mutual understanding. Flashbacks reveal the persistent influence of past choices, ethical reflections on conflict, and the ways in which personal relationships evolve under stress. Willa's growth is evidenced in her confidence, critical thinking, and resilience, while Bob demonstrates both humility and protective commitment. The final sequences communicate that survival involves more than physical endurance, it encompasses emotional maturity, moral navigation, and relational integrity. Production insights provide additional layers of appreciation for the film. The decision to employ VistaVision cinematography, practical stunts, and location shooting underscores Anderson's dedication to realism and visual fidelity. Greenwood's score was composed interactively with editing, ensuring synchronization with both action and emotional beats. Costumes were designed to reflect character psychology and narrative function. Bob's practical, rugged attire communicates preparedness and detachment. Willa's clothing balances youthful individuality with situational practicality. Lockjaw's uniformity reinforces control and authority. Set design, lighting, and color grading were carefully orchestrated to support thematic motifs, narrative clarity, and emotional impact. Reception solidified the film's prominence. Audiences and critics praised the balance of action, character depth, and philosophical nuance. DiCaprio's portrayal of Bob Ferguson was lauded for combining intensity, emotional depth, and dark humor, while Chase Infinity's Willa was recognized as a breakout performance that exemplified resilience and agency. Supporting performances, particularly by Penn, Del Toro, Hall, and Taylor, added texture and richness to the ensemble dynamic. Awards and nominations across major critics' associations affirmed the film's quality and impact, emphasizing acting, direction, screenplay, and score. In totality, One Battle After Another integrates narrative ambition, visual sophistication, philosophical inquiry, and emotional resonance. Its detailed subplots, intricate action choreography, complex character arcs, and layered thematic content exemplify contemporary cinematic achievement. By combining blockbuster-scale spectacle with reflective, morally rich storytelling, Paul Thomas Anderson crafted a film that resonates with audiences on multiple levels: entertaining, intellectually stimulating, and emotionally affecting. The film's attention to detail, from production design to score, action coordination to dialogue, establishes it as a defining cinematic work of 2025, one whose impact extends beyond the screen into cultural discourse, thematic reflection, and critical analysis. After the initial rescue of Willa, the narrative shifts into a slower, more introspective pace, emphasizing the consequences of the preceding action. Bob and Willa retreat to a hidden safe house, a location long used by Bob's former comrades. The interior is filled with relics of the Revolutionary era, maps marked with strategic points, faded photographs, and personal mementos that hint at a complex, shared history. This space serves as a narrative device to explore Bob's inner turmoil. He grapples with guilt over past failures, the lives lost due to his revolutionary actions, and the responsibility of raising Willa in a world still permeated by danger and corruption. The cinematography in these sequences uses warm, muted lighting, close-ups, and slow pans across the room to create a contemplative mood, contrasting sharply with the kinetic intensity of the action sequences that preceded them. The mise-en-scene communicates the weight of history and memory, reinforcing the film's recurring themes of legacy and moral accountability. While in the safe house, Willa reveals key aspects of her own character that underscore her independence and resilience. Through dialogue and subtle visual cues, she demonstrates advanced problem-solving skills, an ability to remain calm under pressure, and moral clarity that surpasses Bob's sometimes cynical worldview. The father-daughter dynamic evolves in these sequences. Bob begins to recognize that Willa is not merely a dependent child but an active participant in shaping her own destiny. Their interactions are marked by gentle humor, philosophical musings, and occasional tension, reflecting both the love and complexity inherent in parent-child relationships. Willa's growing assertiveness also serves to mirror and redeem aspects of Bob's own younger self, highlighting the film's thematic emphasis on growth, maturation, and generational continuity. The narrative further develops the antagonist, Colonel Lockjaw, through a series of intercut sequences that explore his motivations and operational strategy. Lockjaw is portrayed not just as a one-dimensional villain but as a figure shaped by ideology, personal ambition, and past grievances. He coordinates the capture of key allies, sets elaborate traps, and manipulates political and military systems to his advantage. These sequences emphasize strategic thinking and psychological warfare, often juxtaposed against the raw physicality of Bob's improvised countermeasures. This interplay between calculated intellect and on-the-ground adaptability enriches the film's tension, making Lockjaw a compelling and multidimensional antagonist whose presence continuously influences both the plot and the protagonist's development. One of the most visually striking sequences occurs during an extended chase through a deserted industrial complex. Bob, Willa, and their allies navigate towering structures, precarious catwalks, and abandoned machinery while being pursued by Lockjaw's forces. The sequence employs long tracking shots, carefully choreographed stunt work, and layered sound design to create a sense of immersive danger. The scene also incorporates Willa's ingenuity, as she rigs environmental elements to create distractions, enabling her father and the team to gain the upper hand. This blending of suspense, tactical ingenuity, and character-driven action exemplifies the film's unique approach to the action genre, emphasizing strategy, resourcefulness, and interpersonal dynamics over pure spectacle. The film's thematic content deepens through repeated explorations of memory, regret, and the moral cost of past decisions. Flashback sequences are interwoven with present action, revealing formative events in Bob's revolutionary career. These include betrayals by comrades, close brushes with death, and instances where ideology collided with human fallibility. These sequences are often surreal, using distorted perspectives, shifts in color grading, and layered soundscapes to signal psychological reflection rather than literal memory. The narrative demonstrates that the past is never truly escapable, it shapes identity, informs choices, and continually impacts the present. Willa's presence serves as both a catalyst and a lens for this exploration, her clarity and moral instinct contrasting with Bob's cynicism, thereby illuminating paths to redemption and renewal. A particularly pivotal scene occurs when Bob and Sergio, the mystical mentor, engage in a dialogue about philosophy, ethics, and the cyclical nature of violence. Sergio draws parallels between their past revolutionary acts and the ongoing conflicts they now face, emphasizing the importance of strategy tempered with moral consideration. The discussion is intercut with moments of physical action, Sergio demonstrating unconventional martial techniques, Bob improvising defenses, blurring the line between intellectual discourse and practical application. This sequence exemplifies Anderson's capacity to intertwine dialogue-driven storytelling with kinetic action, creating layers of narrative meaning that reward careful attention. Perfidia's character arc reaches its zenith during a solo mission to retrieve critical intelligence from Lockjaw's operation. Her sequences highlight stealth, agility, and improvisation, punctuated with moments of vulnerability that humanize her and reveal motivations rooted in loyalty, personal history, and a desire for justice. The film uses her perspective to expand the narrative universe, showing the scale and complexity of the antagonist's operations while also reinforcing the collaborative dynamic among Bob's team. Her interactions with Bob and Willa further develop interpersonal bonds, blending tension, humor, and affection to maintain narrative richness amid escalating action. As the story approaches its climax, the film orchestrates a multi-layered confrontation that spans several geographic and symbolic spaces. Bob, Willa, Perfidia, and Sergio coordinate to infiltrate Lockjaw's fortified compound, which is heavily guarded and equipped with surveillance technology, automated defenses, and loyal henchmen. The sequences are meticulously choreographed, blending hand-to-hand combat, environmental improvisation, and tactical strategy. Each character's skills are fully utilized, Willa's intelligence and quick thinking, Perfidia's physical prowess, Sergio's strategic guidance, and Bob's experience and adaptability. The action is punctuated by moments of suspense, ethical choice, and emotional reflection, underscoring the narrative's emphasis on moral complexity within high-stakes situations. During the climactic showdown between Bob and Lockjaw, the film fully reveals the antagonist's personal motivations, ideological rigidity, and vulnerabilities. The duel is not purely physical, it is psychological, symbolic, and moral. Bob's knowledge of Lockjaw's patterns, weaknesses, and past betrayals allows him to navigate the confrontation strategically. Simultaneously, Willa and the supporting characters manipulate the environment, create diversions, and confront secondary threats, emphasizing teamwork and the generational continuity of courage and ingenuity. The choreography blends realism with cinematic expression, employing long takes, tight framing, and dynamic camera movement to sustain tension and immersion. The resolution of the narrative emphasizes consequence, reflection, and moral closure. Bob and Willa reunite and return to their off-grid existence, but both are transformed by the experiences they endured. Bob's understanding of responsibility, legacy, and the importance of nurturing Willa's independence deepens. Willa, having demonstrated resourcefulness and moral clarity, emerges as a fully realized character, capable of navigating the world with intelligence and courage. The film closes on a contemplative note, balancing satisfaction with realism, avoiding overly simplified heroism while highlighting emotional growth and thematic resonance. From a production perspective, the film's scale required intricate coordination. Stunt sequences were carefully planned, often involving simultaneous camera units, specialized rigging, and precise choreography to maintain safety while achieving authenticity. The desert and industrial sets were enhanced with practical effects, pyrotechnics, and environmental modifications to create immersive, believable action spaces. Greenwood's musical score, combined with layered diegetic sound, accentuated tension and character-driven emotion, allowing moments of stillness to feel as impactful as explosive sequences. Anderson's direction ensured that action and introspection were balanced, maintaining narrative momentum without sacrificing thematic depth. Critical reception highlighted the film's success in blending genres, delivering suspenseful action, dark comedy, and character-driven storytelling in a cohesive manner. Reviewers praised DiCaprio's performance for balancing physical intensity with nuanced emotional expression. Infinity's portrayal of Willa received acclaim for its sophistication and courage, demonstrating depth beyond her years. The ensemble cast contributed to the film's dynamic, reinforcing both thematic complexity and narrative engagement. Commercially, the film's strong box office performance validated the effectiveness of its genre-blending approach, while awards recognition confirmed its artistic achievement. Thematically, One Battle After Another interrogates the nature of legacy, moral responsibility, the impact of past actions, and the relationship between generations. Characters are shaped by history, circumstance, and ideology, and the narrative emphasizes the importance of intelligence, courage, and moral clarity in navigating complex environments. Visual storytelling, performance, and music coalesce to create a fully realized cinematic experience that balances spectacle with introspection, action with philosophy, and danger with human connection. The narrative structure of One Battle After Another is deliberately nonlinear in its episodic moments, reflecting the chaotic trajectory of Ferguson's life and the ripple effects of past choices on the present. Anderson uses temporal elasticity to deepen audience engagement, occasionally employing flashbacks, fragmented memory sequences, and parallel storylines that reveal character motivations, historical context, and emotional subtext. These structural choices allow viewers to experience the story not merely as a sequence of events but as a layered exploration of cause and consequence, highlighting the inescapable nature of personal and societal history. The episodic design mirrors the film's title, with each confrontation serving as both an individual narrative beat and a thematic reflection of the cumulative impact of violence, morality, and loyalty over time. By alternating between immediate danger, personal reflection, and recollections of past decisions, the narrative achieves a rhythm that is both exhilarating and intellectually stimulating, sustaining tension while inviting deeper contemplation. Ferguson's character arc is central to this structural complexity. He begins the film as a figure trapped between his former revolutionary identity and a desire for personal peace, embodying a tension between past actions and present consequences. Through successive encounters, both physical and moral, he undergoes profound transformation, confronting guilt, ethical ambiguity, and the burden of protecting his daughter. DiCaprio's performance captures the intricacies of this journey, balancing vulnerability, cunning, and resolve. The father-daughter relationship is the emotional anchor, with Willa serving not merely as motivation but as an agent in her own right. Her intelligence, strategic insight, and courage influence key plot developments, reinforcing the narrative's thematic emphasis on intergenerational accountability and personal agency. Chase Infinity's nuanced portrayal ensures that Willa's character resonates beyond conventional archetypes, providing a counterpoint to Ferguson's more impulsive tendencies and heightening the emotional stakes of the film's climax. The philosophical underpinnings of the film emerge organically through both narrative and visual storytelling. Anderson explores the consequences of ideological extremism, the ethics of survival in morally ambiguous situations, and the paradoxes inherent in cycles of conflict. Characters such as Lockjaw embody the rigidity and authoritarianism of institutional power, while Ferguson's improvisational responses reflect the complexities of ethical agency in uncertain circumstances. The film interrogates the tension between personal morality and systemic coercion, inviting viewers to reflect on broader questions regarding justice, loyalty, and the responsibilities of action within complex social frameworks. Satirical elements punctuate these philosophical explorations, using absurdity and irony to highlight human fallibility and the contradictions of power, authority, and ethical reasoning. Action design in the film exemplifies a synthesis of practicality, narrative logic, and visual spectacle. Anderson and his stunt coordinators constructed sequences that are physically authentic, strategically coherent, and thematically resonant. Whether navigating collapsing industrial complexes, orchestrating urban chases, or confronting Lockjaw in enclosed, tension-filled spaces, each action beat is informed by character psychology, situational stakes, and narrative significance. Practical effects, careful choreography, and camera design combine to create sequences that feel both immediate and purposeful, avoiding gratuitous spectacle while maintaining cinematic intensity. The integration of Greenwood's score enhances this dynamic, amplifying rhythm, tension, and emotional resonance, creating an immersive experience that engages viewers on multiple sensory and interpretive levels. The ensemble dynamics contribute significantly to narrative and thematic depth. Characters such as Sensei Sergio, Deandra, and Perfidia Beverly Hills operate not merely as support but as narrative catalysts, reflecting divergent ethical perspectives, approaches to conflict, and responses to crisis. Sergio's ambiguous morality and mentorship challenge Ferguson to confront his own principles, while Deandra's pragmatism and Perfidia's wit and cunning provide both strategic assistance and narrative tension. The interactions between these characters form a complex web of alliance, rivalry, and moral negotiation, demonstrating Anderson's skill in crafting ensemble narratives that sustain both narrative propulsion and thematic richness. Each supporting role is carefully delineated, contributing to a cohesive, multidimensional portrayal of human behavior under duress. Critical analysis has emphasized the film's success in harmonizing its diverse elements: narrative structure, character depth, thematic exploration, visual design, action choreography, and score. Reviewers consistently highlight Anderson's ability to integrate these components into a cohesive whole, producing a work that is simultaneously thrilling, emotionally resonant, intellectually engaging, and tonally sophisticated. DiCaprio's Ferguson has been recognized as a definitive action hero archetype infused with introspection and ethical complexity, while Infinity's Willa provides narrative and emotional counterbalance. Penn's Lockjaw remains a compelling ideological antagonist, and Del Toro's Sergio contributes philosophical ambiguity and unpredictability. Ensemble contributions, cinematography, editing, and Greenwood's score are frequently cited as integral to the film's critical acclaim, establishing it as both a technical and artistic benchmark within contemporary cinema. Cultural discourse surrounding one battle after another has extended beyond cinematic critique into philosophical, sociological, and media studies arenas. Scholars and commentators have examined its exploration of cycles of violence, moral agency, and institutional authority, situating the film within broader debates regarding representation, ideology, and ethical reflection in action-oriented media. The film's blending of high-stakes spectacle with philosophical inquiry and emotional depth challenges traditional genre expectations, inspiring analysis of how blockbuster cinema can operate as both entertainment and complex cultural commentary. Audience engagement, as reflected in social media discussions, fan forums, and critical essays, underscores the resonance of the film's themes and its capacity to provoke sustained conversation and interpretation. Awards recognition and critical reception reinforced the film's status as a landmark work. With 9 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Picture, musical/comedy, Best Director, and multiple acting nominations, the film achieved both industry and peer recognition. Critical acclaim from national and international reviewers emphasizes the synthesis of aesthetic mastery, narrative complexity, and emotional resonance. Audience response, including box office performance and streaming engagement, further affirms the film's widespread appeal and cultural relevance. The combination of commercial success, critical recognition, and intellectual engagement situates One Battle After Another as a defining cinematic work of 2025, exemplifying the potential of auteur-driven, genre-blending storytelling to achieve both artistic and popular impact. As the story advances toward its final sequences, the film meticulously develops smaller yet thematically significant scenes, each contributing to character depth, narrative tension, and the overarching thematic framework. One such sequence involves Bob Ferguson's preparation for the ultimate confrontation with Lockjaw. In this moment, the narrative emphasizes meticulous planning, tactical foresight, and the blending of past experience with present necessity. The camera lingers on Bob as he examines maps, assesses the desert terrain, and coordinates with Sergio, Deandra, and Perfidia. Close-ups highlight the sweat, strain, and concentration etched on each face, while muted lighting and long takes convey the gravity of the impending operation. Dialogue is sparse but loaded with subtext, revealing trust dynamics, strategic priorities, and ethical considerations. Every word reflects the careful calibration between urgency, morality, and collaboration. Simultaneously, Willa continues to demonstrate initiative and ingenuity. In a multi-layered subplot, she manipulates her captors' routines, leaves coded signals, and tests their attentiveness to create a tangible escape opportunity. Her actions are depicted with precise cinematography, tight close-ups capture minute gestures, while shifts in camera angle reflect her perception of the environment. Greenwood's score subtly emphasizes tension and anticipation, moving from minimalist motifs to percussive crescendos as she executes each maneuver. Willa's ingenuity is framed as an extension of her father's teachings, illustrating intergenerational learning and the theme of empowerment under duress. The interplay between her subtle, cerebral actions and Bob's overtly physical tactics underscores the film's multi-layered approach to heroism. The infiltration sequences are among the most complex technical achievements in the film. Bob and his team navigate multiple layers of security within Lockjaw's fortified industrial compound. These sequences feature a combination of stealth, tactical evasion, and improvisational combat. Anderson employs a variety of cinematic techniques to maintain narrative clarity. Long tracking shots allow viewers to follow simultaneous character movements, rapid cross-cutting illustrates overlapping objectives, and point-of-view shots immerse audiences in the tension experienced by each character. Environmental hazards, structural debris, malfunctioning machinery, and strategically placed operatives, create high stakes and challenge each character's adaptability. Practical effects, including collapsing scaffolding, pyrotechnics, and vehicle stunts, enhance realism and immersion. Minor characters play crucial roles during these infiltration sequences, each contributing to narrative depth and tension. Luna executes technological interventions, disabling security systems and monitoring camera networks, providing critical intelligence that enables Bob's team to navigate traps. Her sequences emphasize precision, foresight, and composure under pressure, contrasting with the more physically intense efforts of Bob and Sergio. Lieutenant Marquez faces a moral crossroads when ordered to prevent Bob's intrusion. His hesitation and ultimate decision to obstruct Lockjaw highlight themes of ethical agency and the potential for personal choice to influence outcomes in morally fraught situations. Jungle Pussy's improvisational actions introduce elements of unpredictability, creating both peril and opportunity for the team, while simultaneously reinforcing the narrative's balance between chaos and strategy. The climax unfolds across multiple levels of the industrial complex, integrating physical confrontation, moral dilemmas, and psychological tension. Bob confronts Lockjaw in a sequence that demands simultaneous attention to survival, protection of Willa, and ethical restraint. The choreography combines hand-to-hand combat, strategic maneuvering through environmental hazards, and improvised problem-solving. The tension is heightened through Anderson's use of tight framing, shadowed lighting, and dynamic camera movement, emphasizing both the physicality of the confrontation and the character's psychological states. Greenwood's score punctuates each beat, shifting from rhythmic tension to soaring strings in moments of triumph or emotional resonance. The cinematography and sound design work in tandem to immerse viewers fully in the stakes of the confrontation. Throughout the climax, dialogue continues to serve multiple narrative and thematic functions. Exchanges between Bob and Lockjaw reveal ideological and personal conflicts, contrasting Bob's evolution from isolated former revolutionary to morally aware and protective father, with Lockjaw's obsession with control and vengeance. These conversations underscore central themes of ethical choice, the consequences of past actions, and the dynamics of power. Brief reflective moments in dialogue highlight the characters' awareness of their histories and ethical boundaries, reinforcing the narrative's commitment to layered storytelling. Willa's interventions, both verbal and tactical, demonstrate her growth and agency, providing pivotal contributions that influence the outcome of key confrontations. Symbolic visual motifs intensify during the climax and resolution. Recurrent imagery of fractured architecture, industrial decay, and shifting light patterns reinforces the themes of moral ambiguity, past consequences, and the impermanence of human constructs. Color grading shifts subtly to reflect emotional tone, desaturated hues during moments of moral uncertainty, warmer tones during intimate or victorious interactions, and contrasting shadows that signify both literal and metaphorical danger. These choices ensure that visual design is not merely aesthetic but actively communicates narrative and thematic content. Following the resolution of the primary conflict, the denouement emphasizes the lasting consequences of the characters' experiences. Bob and Willa return to their domestic environment, now irrevocably shaped by trauma, learning, and growth. Flashbacks and reflective sequences illustrate the persistence of past choices, the integration of lessons from extreme experiences, and the maturation of relationships. Willa demonstrates newfound independence, critical thinking, and resilience, while Bob embodies the balance between protective instinct, moral awareness, and strategic decisiveness. Supporting characters' arcs are given subtle closure, Sergio's mentorship is reaffirmed, Luna's contributions are recognized, and Marquez's moral choices reinforce the film's emphasis on ethical complexity. Production details further illuminate the film's achievement. VistaVision cinematography provides expansive visual clarity, enhancing both landscape sequences and intimate character moments. Practical effects dominate, from stunt coordination in high-speed chases to controlled pyrotechnics in industrial set pieces. Greenwood's score, developed interactively with editing, dynamically aligns with action beats, dialogue, and emotional shifts. Costume, lighting, and set design are carefully orchestrated. Bob's rugged attire communicates readiness and pragmatism, Willa's clothing balances youthfulness with functional mobility, and Lockjaw's uniformed precision conveys control and obsession. Each element contributes to a cohesive audio-visual experience that supports narrative depth and thematic resonance. Dialogue analysis reveals nuanced layering. Characters discuss tactical operations while simultaneously reflecting on morality, ideology, and relational dynamics. Humor interspersed within tense sequences provides tonal balance and character insight, ensuring engagement without undermining stakes. Conversations between secondary characters, though brief, convey rich context regarding history, motivation, and ethical orientation. Anderson's script demonstrates precision in integrating character voice, thematic reflection, and narrative propulsion, resulting in a cohesive, intellectually stimulating experience. The film's cultural impact is significant. Released theatrically in September 2025, it achieved both critical and commercial success. Audience engagement highlighted appreciation for narrative complexity, layered action sequences, and fully realized character arcs. Performances across the ensemble cast, particularly DiCaprio, Infinity, Del Toro, Penn, Hall, and Taylor, received acclaim for emotional depth, authenticity, and dynamic interplay. Awards recognition followed, including multiple Golden Globe nominations and wins from critics' associations, validating both performance and technical achievement. In its totality, One Battle After Another integrates action spectacle, psychological depth, moral exploration, and visual sophistication. Subplots, minor character arcs, symbolic motifs, dialogue nuances, and production ingenuity converge to create a cinematic work that is thematically rich, visually compelling, and emotionally resonant. By balancing blockbuster-scale intensity with reflective, character-driven storytelling, Paul Thomas Anderson produced a defining work of 2025, one that resonates on multiple levels: entertaining, intellectually engaging, and emotionally profound. Its meticulous integration of narrative complexity, thematic exploration, technical craft, and character agency ensures that it stands as a landmark achievement in contemporary cinema, leaving a lasting impact on audiences, critics, and the cultural discourse of its time. Following the climactic confrontation at Lockjaw's compound, the narrative shifts to a quieter, reflective interlude, highlighting the psychological and emotional aftermath of the conflict. Bob and Willa, now reunited, traverse a series of rugged landscapes as they attempt to return to their secluded homestead. The journey serves as a narrative bridge, emphasizing both the physical and emotional toll of the preceding events. Each scene along the way is imbued with symbolic resonance. Winding desert paths signify the complexity of life's choices, and the harsh sunlight reflects the exposure of truth and vulnerability. Bob often pauses to reflect on the implications of his actions, sharing short, measured dialogues with Willa that reveal both regret and hope. These exchanges convey his evolving understanding of responsibility, not only for his own past mistakes but also for the shaping of Willa's moral and practical development. Willa's perspective is given particular attention during this sequence. Through internal monologues and quiet observation, the film illustrates her developing agency. She interprets the landscape, anticipates challenges, and demonstrates an instinctual understanding of danger, underscoring the thematic motif of inherited skill and wisdom. Her observations frequently contrast with Bob's more cautious or guilt-laden approach, illustrating the intergenerational transfer of knowledge, courage, and moral reasoning. These sequences highlight the film's investment in character depth and human psychology, ensuring that the action-driven plot remains anchored in emotional reality. As they approach their home, a series of flashbacks deepen the audience's understanding of the story's central conflict. These flashbacks reveal previously undisclosed dimensions of Bob and Lockjaw's rivalry. One scene depicts Bob in his earlier revolutionary days, negotiating alliances with radical factions, making ethically complex decisions, and confronting personal betrayals that ultimately shaped his distrust and cautious approach to life. Another flashback explores Lockjaw's early ambitions and the experiences that hardened him into the cold, calculating antagonist he becomes. These historical sequences are stylized with distinctive cinematographic techniques, subtle desaturation, layered textures, and distorted lens effects, to visually distinguish past from present. The careful editing ensures that these sequences augment rather than interrupt the narrative, offering both context and thematic reinforcement. The story introduces secondary characters who continue to influence events even after the main conflict. Perfidia's solo exploits, previously intercut with Bob's journey, are revisited in a reflective montage showing her efforts to neutralize lingering threats, secure intelligence, and ensure the safety of other former comrades. This sequence emphasizes the interconnectedness of the narrative world, demonstrating that the resolution is not solely dependent on the protagonist but on a network of alliances, strategy, and collaboration. Each character's arc converges toward a broader narrative resolution, illustrating the film's commitment to ensemble storytelling and layered plot structures. One of the film's most poignant scenes occurs when Bob and Willa return to their cabin, only to find subtle changes. Nature has begun reclaiming the space, symbolizing resilience, continuity, and renewal. The scene is visually arresting, with natural light streaming through windows, dust particles illuminated in shafts of sunlight, and the soft sound of wind rustling through the cabin. Bob and Willa engage in dialogue that is at once simple and profound. Bob shares his reflections on the lessons learned from the conflict, the costs of past decisions, and the importance of courage tempered by wisdom. Willa responds with insights that highlight her growing independence, moral clarity, and understanding of the broader world. The interaction reinforces the thematic heart of the film, the interplay between experience, legacy, and the emerging capabilities of the next generation. Throughout the film, Anderson employs recurring visual motifs and symbolic imagery. Rusted machinery, crumbling infrastructure, and abandoned industrial sites represent the decay of past ideologies and the consequences of human conflict. In contrast, open desert vistas, flowing rivers, and resilient vegetation symbolize renewal, adaptability, and the enduring capacity of life. Characters' movements within these environments reflect their psychological states. Bob's cautious navigation of treacherous terrain mirrors his moral deliberation, while Willa's agile, confident traversal of the same spaces signals her evolving mastery and empowerment. These choices reinforce the film's thematic complexity while maintaining visual cohesion and narrative clarity. The climactic sequence involving Lockjaw's final pursuit is meticulously layered with tension, strategic maneuvering, and psychological confrontation. Unlike conventional action films, the duel emphasizes anticipation, deception, and the interplay between intellect and instinct. Bob anticipates Lockjaw's moves using knowledge accumulated from past encounters and insights gained during the journey. The choreography interweaves physical combat, environmental manipulation, and character-driven decision-making, illustrating the narrative's emphasis on strategy and moral agency. Willa and supporting characters provide critical support, executing coordinated plans that neutralize threats and facilitate the final resolution. These sequences exemplify the careful integration of plot, character, and theme, ensuring that the film's resolution feels earned rather than contrived. Following the resolution of the primary conflict, the film devotes significant time to character reflection and moral closure. Secondary antagonists are confronted, decisions are made regarding future alliances, and lingering questions about loyalty, responsibility, and justice are addressed. These moments are rich in dialogue, with subtle shifts in tone, pacing, and performance conveying the emotional weight of events. Anderson's direction emphasizes pauses, gestures, and visual composition, allowing the audience to absorb the consequences and contemplate the thematic implications. The final moments of the film depict Bob and Willa observing the horizon from their homestead, a symbolic representation of possibility, hope, and the continuation of life despite adversity. The visual framing, lighting, and sound design reinforce a sense of closure that is emotionally satisfying while maintaining narrative realism. From a production standpoint, the film's commitment to authenticity is evident in the extensive preparation and research undertaken by the cast and crew. Stunt sequences required months of training and coordination with specialized teams to safely execute high-risk maneuvers. DiCaprio and Infinity trained in combat techniques, survival skills, and vehicular stunts, ensuring that their performances were both believable and physically demanding. Set construction involved creating realistic, immersive environments that could support both intimate character interactions and large-scale action sequences. Practical effects, pyrotechnics, and environmental manipulation were prioritized to enhance realism, requiring collaboration between visual effects teams, cinematographers, and stunt coordinators. These efforts contributed to the film's reputation as a technically ambitious and visually striking production. Johnny Greenwood's musical score continues to play a crucial role in these extended sequences. The composition combines orchestral swells, electronic textures, and diegetic environmental sounds to create an immersive auditory experience. Moments of silence are strategically employed to heighten tension or underscore emotional resonance, allowing character expressions, gestures, and the surrounding environment to communicate narrative information. The music reinforces the film's tonal shifts, seamlessly integrating with the visual and thematic components to create a unified cinematic language. Critical and audience reception further highlights the success of these narrative, technical, and thematic elements. Reviewers praised the film for its layered storytelling, compelling performances, and ambitious production design. DiCaprio's portrayal of Bob was lauded for its combination of physical intensity, emotional depth, and subtle comedic timing. Infinity's performance as Willa received widespread acclaim for its intelligence, courage, and authenticity. Supporting performances, particularly by Teyana Taylor and Benicio del Toro, added depth, nuance, and complexity to the ensemble, enhancing both narrative richness and audience engagement. The film's thematic resonance extends beyond the immediate plot, exploring ideas of legacy, responsibility, moral choice, and intergenerational growth. Bob's journey reflects the human capacity for reflection, adaptation, and redemption, while Willa's development embodies the hope, skill, and clarity of the next generation. Lockjaw's arc serves as a cautionary counterpart, illustrating how unexamined ambition and rigid ideology can lead to destruction and moral compromise. The interplay between these narrative threads results in a story that is intellectually engaging, emotionally compelling, and viscerally exciting. Commercially, one battle after another achieved substantial success, grossing over $203 million worldwide. While not a conventional blockbuster in its approach to action and comedy, its genre-blending strategy, strong performances, and technical achievements contributed to both critical acclaim and financial viability. The film led nominations during the 2026 Golden Globes, winning multiple awards, and generated sustained discussion during awards season for its innovative narrative and technical ambition. Its reception reinforced Anderson's reputation for blending artistic innovation with broad audience appeal, creating a cinematic experience that is both meaningful and entertaining.